It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy Friday. We've done it. We've made it to the last full week of Daily Dose of Donna of the year 2024. It's Friday, December 20th. You guys, I am so incredibly happy that we made it. Vicente just arrived for the occasion. We got Frankie the dog in here. The party has arrived. We have so much to get into today. A special early Christmas gift from the Bravo gods with a firing. I usually don't like it when people lose their jobs, but we have a good one today. And of course, you know that song, you say it best when you say nothing at all, except when it comes from Lisa Vanderpump, Lala, and Scheana, the women that love to talk. Except when it comes to domestic violence. We have so much to talk about with Southern Charm and more on today's Daily Dose of Donna. My goodness, what a year. We will be back this year. Don't worry. This is not the end. This is not the end, my friends. So let's look at the schedule. Let's just do a little homework, okay? Let's look at the calendar. So today is Friday, December 20th. I will be leaving town on Sunday, but Patreon. If you are a Patreon member, I will be on Patreon. I'll be on Patreon. I do a Patreon episode every weekend. So I will be showing up on whether it's Saturday or Sunday this week. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to confirm whether or not I will have a public episode next week. I definitely will not make it a daily, but I will try to have at least one next week. But Patreon will definitely have an episode. I'm going to travel with a mic. I'm going to be like a mobile reporter. I'm a remote reporter, okay? I return back from my trip probably on Thursday. So I will try to be back next Friday, the 27th, okay? Then the following week, and then I'll have, of course, a Patreon again that Sunday or that weekend. And then the following week, I will be here, regular schedule, but I will not be here on New Year's Day. Got it? Cool. Thanks. Awesome. Let's get into the show. As you guys know, last night we've gotten some chaotic Bravo news lately. It's been one thing after another. Okay, we got a crazy drunk footage that like none of us were expecting from Karen Huger. That was a lot. It was a lot. We had another arrest, of course, domestic violence, James Kennedy. We'll get into that. A lot. It's like, can we get some positivity? And never before would you ever think that someone getting fired, especially around holiday season, these are the things that usually are sad. But hallelujah, Alexis Bellino was given the pink slip. She was, her orange was taketh. She was not given her orange for the next season of Real Housewives of OC. I don't think not one, 0, 0, 0, not one person was shocked by this. I don't even think Alexis Bellino was shocked by this. She was not surprised. No one was surprised. I had heard that this was happening weeks ago, even before the original cast that was asked back. Now, my gut, and I don't have confirmation on this, but this is my gut. Heather Dubrow is back. Tamara Judge is back. Katie, Shannon, and Jen are back. Emily and Gina are back. I think every single person is back except Alexis Bellino. I think that entire, of course I said Shannon, right? I think the entire couch except Alexis on both sides are back. And why wouldn't they, right? Because Alexis, while a lot of people thought that whole drama brought the ratings, she was so maddening. She was driving us all crazy. And I'm so glad that she's not back because, and by the way, thank you, Rose. Rose just became a new YouTube member. Welcome. Welcome to the crew. I'm so glad she's not back Thank you for clarifying. Sue said she never had an orange. She was just a friend. That's true. But she was like grabbing onto the orange. Like if this was the orange, she was like, can I have a squeeze? She just wanted a slice of that orange, you know? She was, the story had been told. She was literally like the Vanderpump of the world, of this show. There was no more story to tell. I know she was dying to have her wedding and the planning of it all. So, my question for you all, well, let's just go into the story. Of course, Dave Quinn got the exclusive. Dave Quinn from People Magazine, as you guys know, he always gets the story. He got the story and it came out. She says it did not come as a shock. The funny thing is where she announced it. She announced it on Going Rogue. That's Rachel Levis's former podcast. You couldn't have picked a more random place to go. She really went rogue on this one. I mean, did she just like, was she like, does anyone want me? I mean, really, what a random place to go. Now, our friend Carlos King, right? I like Carlos. Carlos was on that show as well. So I guess it wasn't like that much of a dud. And we're all talking about it. So I guess that's good for that show. We know Rachel doesn't even host it anymore. It's what's it called? Lori. No, I forget what the girl's name is. Rachel's former publicist who's doing the show with currently, who's the host. I can't remember her name. Okay. She says, I was not asked back next season. And then she says she was not expecting to be asked back. I can't say it came as a shock. It did not come as a shock. She had a hard conversation with the network. While Alexis acknowledged nobody wants the rejection, she pointed out this is not the first time she's been cut from the show. It already happened to me. It happened to me in season 8. Been there, done that. She shared the news on Instagram on Friday, writing in part, when one door closes, another one opens. There's the door. She also wished her co-stars the best season yet when cameras pick back up. The cast for season 19 has yet to be confirmed. 19. That is wild. 19. I did get a great DM from someone about there's the door, and I forget what she said. I'm going to try to find it. Sorry about the background noise. In case you guys do hear Vicente, he does definitely he wants to be remembered before the end of the year. He wants everyone to remember Vicente. But I did get a DM from someone that said something very funny about like, there's the door, you bore. I will say about Alexis, she was used as a pawn 100%. She was brought in. Shannon should send her a thank you card. 100%. Shannon should send her an incredible like bouquet. Thank you very much for doing me a solid. Because of you, I was able to escape the worst season of my life, being treated like a drunk, being treated like an imbecile that drunk drove and crashed into a car, being treated like Karen Huger will in the future. Truthfully, Shannon has escaped what could potentially be Karen Huger's future. Now, like I said yesterday or the day before, Karen Huger and Shannon Beador have had very different reactions to their DUIs. Karen Huger's reaction to her DUI has actually been very different up until yesterday, and that's because we hadn't seen that footage, and so we didn't really have information. What we saw after yesterday has changed the game for Karen, and I'm sure it does for a lot of you guys. I'm curious from you. For me, up until yesterday, up until Wednesday night when we saw that footage with Karen, I was looking at it like, okay, it was a DUI. She crashed her car, but that was it. Like I wasn't seeing much into it. But after seeing all that footage and seeing how out of her mind wasted she was, and this was more than just a couple drinks and her being overly emotional about the death of her parents on a phone call with her cousin, like she kept playing it off. Seeing that she was literally out of her mind, wackadoodle, crazy, speaking literally in tongues. Like, what was she saying? I have a very different feeling towards Karen Huger. I got a comment last night saying, wow, you're really judgmental over Karen. And damn right I am. Should I not be? I'm sorry. Should we not be judgmental over drunk drivers? Is this a line we shouldn't cross? They said, you're too judgmental over James Kennedy and Karen Huger. Oh, okay. Guys, wh- why are we pretending that these things aren't bad in this world? Like, there's certain things in the world that I think we should agree on that are bad. Drunk driving is bad. And I would say this to my best friend. This is not just because she's like a housewife. I would say this to my best friend. I would say this to my sister. I would say this to my husband. I would say this to myself. Drunk driving is bad. Hurting, like hitting a woman is bad. So I'm not like extra judgmental because they're reality stars. I think this is just an overall thing I would say to anyone, man, woman, celebrity, not. So I apologize if I sound extra judgmental on bad behavior, but that's just kind of who I am as a human being, that I have a strong opinion about things. Oh, this is the best part. And I texted it to Zach in this comment. This was on YouTube, this comment, because I do read my YouTube comments. The comment said, you should be more like, this is the best. Zach and I were laughing. So funny. The comment was like, you should be more like Zach and be less judgmental. I died. I sent it to Zach. I said, Zach, I should really be more like you. He goes, me? I'm the most judgmental. I should be more like you. I think it's, you know what? I think that commenter was sexist. I think it's because I'm a woman. I don't think that commenter likes women. It's because I'm a woman. They think that women shouldn't have strong opinions. You know what? I'm gonna file a report. Anti-woman. I mean, the best comment ever is that they think Zach Peter, my friend Zach Peter, one thing we all know about Zach Peter, and I love Zach Peter, is that man is the most judgmental, which is why we all watch him and love him. Opinions are what we want. We want people who have opinions. If you report these things and just read from page 6, you are sleepy, hollow, boring. No thanks. Okay. So yes, I have an opinion on Karen Huger. And Alexis, but how did I get there? This is very Patreon coded with my rambles. So I will say about Shannon Bedore, she got very, very, very lucky that nothing was released on her, because can you imagine if we had seen Karen Huger style footage, and if she had that kind of reaction, and then Alexis Bellino was not on this last season, I wonder what would have happened for Shannon. So Alexis did her duty to prop Shannon up, to make Shannon have this amazing, wonderful, incredible, um, you know, like season that made her seem like this really, you know, heroic person. And I'm not saying she's not, or she is, but let's be real, she did drunk drive, which is a bad thing. But I do think she handled it much different than Karen Huger, so I will always give her props for that. Let's see how things develop next season. Okay. I am so interested to see what the big conflicts will be next season. Obviously, I would hope that Tamra chooses to lay off of Jen and Shannon, and to see kind of what happens with Shannon without Alexis and John Jansen there. I'm so interested. Like that, I'm going to be dying to see what happens. That I am very interested in. Josh, tell us more. You're talking about last night. Before I say that out loud, I need to know more. Okay, so Tamra may pull, she may have learned her lesson from last season, and she may actually pull a season like she was at the reunion, which was very relaxed and very kind of mellow, because I don't know. Maybe Tamra will be sick of getting that like kind of activated villain edit, or maybe she's just not capable of it. Heather Dubrow will definitely be back. Did you guys hear that Kelly Dodd story on Jeff Lewis? So Kelly Dodd was saying out loud that she got a call from Evolution, which was the production company behind Real Housewives. And they give her a call and it comes up on her phone as Evolution. She picks up the phone and it's two new people she's never spoken to. And they're like, hey, what's Heather Dubrow up to these days? And she goes, how would I know? I'm Kelly Dodd. And they were like, oh, whoops, wrong number. Merry Christmas. So she says that that's how she knew Heather Dubrow was getting called back. Because that's how they go. That's how they give you like the green light for the next season is they usually call you from the office, which made me really laugh. Oh, okay. So according to Rick and Kelly's live this morning in the chat, Shannon was wasted last night. I was not there. I didn't see it, but Jeff Lewis had a chump miss last night in Irvine or Brea, which is like down in Orange County, which is his live show. And he had a bunch of his chumps over there. And I didn't pay any attention to it. Like I wasn't online following any of it. So I have not seen anything. And I have not seen Rick and Kelly talk about it. But now I will after this. And apparently people in the live chat were talking about how Shannon Bedore was schmammered, but as long as she wasn't driving, which I am sure she will not ever make that mistake again, especially if it's local. There's no way she's making that mistake again. So I will very much be interested to watch that later. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to jump on over to Rick and Kelly talking about it later. Yeah, I did see Ryan Bailey. I have to be honest. I did see Ryan Bailey post a picture on Instagram earlier, just like when I was scrolling earlier. And she did look a little bombed. Okay. Billy says Kelly and Rick didn't say she was wasted, but the chat did. Just clarifying that for everyone. Okay. Reality TV Lover says, I was on that live. The picture Rick showed of Shannon, and she did look really effed up. Yeah. So no one actually said it. This is what people were speculating in the chat or people that were there were saying, and people that were looking at pictures were saying. And there were people in the live chat that were actually at the event and they were saying it. Okay. I'm going to obviously, Kelly's going to call me right now. Should I text Kelly in the live? That's what she would do to me. She would, remember when she called me during her live? That was so effed up. And I was working out and I was like, hello. And she goes, I'm live on YouTube. I'm like, hi. Can I sign off for this, please? Can I get 10% of your live money, Rick? Okay. So let's move on. Anyway, Alexis Bellino is out. Bye. Okay, let's move on to, let's move on to that Karen Huger story. So Karen Huger, I love how this story shows up as if like this is not an obvious story. But Karen Huger, it says, faces a tough ultimatum. This is the story. Faces a tough ultimatum after being found guilty of DUI. What did they say? No shit, Sherlock. She should. I love how the article is like painting it like, wait, there's going to be consequences for this DUI. Well, duh. Either get help or don't return to the reality series. Well, look, I'm not a fan of all of Potomac getting canceled for Karen's mistakes, but I already think Potomac is a sinking ship. And if you guys are here in my comments or watching later in the live chat, let me know if you really do believe Potomac is like an amazing show, because I can't be on an island here. I usually can tell from like audience reaction about how much content is being created every day after the show airs. You know, like after Salt Lake City or after Beverly Hills or after when OC was on, there's so much reality TV content on all these all the social media, content creators. People are creating so much content, talking about it, the podcast. No one's talking about Potomac the day after. No one's talking about Roni the day after. There's not much to talk about. People are talking about Karen Huger right now, but they're not talking about the show. It's not like they're waking up the next day and they're like, did you see what Kiarna said? I mean, no one is interested in it, including the people watching it. I mean, they're in shock that Mia's talking about the paternity of her child in front of her child. That's weird. I think that makes all of us feel uncomfortable. But but I feel like it's really a tough one. It's a tough show to like be that into. It's not like it's like I said yesterday, it doesn't feel like appointment television. It doesn't feel like, on Sunday nights that you're counting down the moments for it. I feel like if I'm going to be 100% honest, I feel like Kiarna is wasted on the show. Not wasted, like not Shannon Bedore. She doesn't need to be there. She's added in for an extra character, but she's not necessary at all for the show. Dr. Wendy's storyline for me is quite boring. Stacy's kind of a fun character to watch just because she's so kind of out there with TJ. I mean, it's interesting watching a woman pretend to be in a relationship with a man who has no interest in being with her. Of course, Karen is always fun. I'm not a fan of Ashley. I don't enjoy watching her personally. I don't really care about her dating life. I like Giselle, but Mia is a struggle for me to watch. I don't enjoy her, and I find her actually really problematic with her children. So it's hard for me. Yeah, a lot of you guys love Married to Medicine, and I'm trying. Did I tell you guys that I started watching season 7? So I'm halfway through season 7. I'm very proud of myself. So I'm getting to know Quad. I'm getting to know Dr. Heavenly. I am getting in there. I'm it's just the tip, I'm pushing in. I'm pushing in. We're just soaking. It was that TMI. We're soaking in Married to Medicine. But it's not a show for me that I'm like dying to watch. I watch it mostly for Daily Dose of Donna. I don't know if I would watch it necessarily on my own. So I will try to continue to watch Married to Medicine. It's a show that I'm watching like when I have the free time. Although I'm really trying to get through the Ultimatum, the season 3 of Ultimatum on Netflix. It's hair pulling. It's horrendous. It's really bad. And I'm really mad at some of my dosers that forced me into this. Okay? Yeah, you. I'm mad at you. Okay. Back to Karen Huger. So yeah, obviously she's in an ultimatum, but I don't think Potomac should continue the way it is. They either need a huge reboot, they need a year pause, they need something, but it's just exhibiting really bad behavior. Karen should not be back on this show after what we saw. I think or she needs to do some huge apology tour. Like the words that came out of her mouth were very, very They were very, I don't want to say the word, but it was bad. You guys, it was bad. In the cop station, it was bad. In the police station, it just was bad. It was bringing up some bad feelings. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. So that's what they're saying. Because she could also face up to 2 years. I mean, by this point, it's going to be Jen Shah, Karen Huger. I mean, who else is going to show up on the same year? It's going to be like the season of, jailed housewives coming out of prison. Oh, I love how I saw this morning an article when I'm looking up my stories of Diddy. Sean Combs, Diddy is spending his first Christmas skinny and lonely in prison. Cry me a river. Skinny and lonely in prison, starring Diddy. Was that written to make us feel like sad? Are we supposed to feel sad for Diddy feeling skinny and lonely in prison? Like what? Couldn't believe it. So Karen Huger, we'll have to see what happens. Andy Cohen's got some big decisions to make. Another thing that is quite maddening in the Bravo atmosphere right now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel that, is the silence, the absolute, clearly, bravo, coming from the top down, it has to be silence from former Vanderpump members regarding James Kennedy. Look, there must be a bigger reason for this, and I don't know what it is. And if you are in the legal space, and I asked on Facebook this morning, if you're in the Facebook group Daily Dose of Donna, I asked you if you're an attorney and you want to be a consultant for the show and you want to like jump in and maybe you can even be on some episodes. If you want to be like an on-air personality, happy to have you. Because there's so many legal cases that are on this show that we talk about, and I'm just not an expert. So I would love to talk to anyone that's willing to maybe jump in every once in a while. But I would imagine there's some sort of legal reason that all of the Vanderpump stars or ex-Vanderpump stars have been mum. Is that what they say? Mum on James Kennedy. But what's so frustrating about this is this is not a group of people who have ever been silent about anything. They've never been silent about affairs. They've never been silent about arrests. They've never been silent about people getting hired, fired, pregnant, babies, broken up, new shows, restaurants selling, breakups, scandals. This is constantly an issue, or this is constantly something that we can always count on, is for these, especially these girls, to open their mouth and talk. Yet, since the arrest of James Kennedy, which was 10 days ago, we have not heard a damn word until Lala. So finally, as of yesterday, on December 19th, Lala Kent, who is the mouthpiece for Vanderpump Rules, can you think of anyone that talks more than her? And you guys, I am very disappointed in Lala Kent, because if you've been watching Daily Dose of Donna, you know I was one of the 6 people in the Bravo landscape that actually had Lala's back. It was me, it was non-judgmental Zach Peter, and it was 4 other people. And I got shit on, and I got 1-star reviews, and I got angry comments, and I got eggs thrown at my virtual face. But I felt in my heart that she's not as bad as people want to say. And maybe she isn't. But yesterday, I finally said to myself, Donna, you are wrong. And guys, it maybe was the first time I've ever said those words. Just kidding. I say them every day. She really disappointed me, because Lala salivates, literally drool pours out of her mouth when anyone has anything going on in their lives. She loves a scandal. She loves to talk shit about anyone else. She loves to go in on anyone else, when it's Ariana, when it's Tom Sandoval, when it's Tom Schwartz, when it's Scheana, when it's Brock, when it's Jax, and especially when it's any of her cast members. And yes, Vanderpump Rules has been canceled. So, okay, I understand a little bit that she's taken a little bit of a breather from the cast, and she's not 100% immersed into their lives right now. But yesterday she did an Amazon Live, and Vanderpod Recaps, I reposted it, but Vanderpod Recaps posted it on their feed, on her feed. And so I'm going to post hers, because she did it originally and I remixed her reel. But let me post hers really fast. And the questions are, so when you're doing these Amazon Lives, you can pick and choose whose comments you want to ask, like whose questions you want to ask. Just like right now, when I am reading these, I can choose who wants to like who I want to talk to, right? So if you guys are asking me something, I can decide I don't want to cover that right now, or I don't want to ask this question, answer this question. But if one of you asks something, I can say like, yes, that I want to cover that. She specifically chose to answer certain questions about James and Allie that were asked. And these were her answers for those of you that have not seen it, which I find incredibly disappointing. Here's Lala yesterday on her Amazon Live.
Jess asks, have you talked to James at all since the incident? I have not. I've spoken with Allie. I checked in on her, and she wrote me a text back. And that's all I'm really going to share on that topic. Marissa, what do you think about James and Allie? I don't have many thoughts. You know what's wild about getting older is as you get older, you have your own life to worry about. That when something happens in someone else's relationship, you first and foremost want to make sure, like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? I'm here if you need me. But beyond that, like, I really don't sit and think about anybody else's relationship or have many thoughts about someone else's relationship because I'm too caught up in what's going on in my own household. So it's not to say that I don't care. But like I said, when you get older and you have families, you're kind of focused on, you know, what goes on under your roof, you know? Mm-hmm. So I haven't put much thought into it. Like I said, I reached out to Allie, and I'm not going to share anything beyond that.
Okay. Obviously very disappointing because there's a couple things going on here. This is giving, I don't vote for president because it doesn't matter to me because I'm only worried about what's happening in my house. Like, you know, it's giving that kind of vibe. Like, I was going to say I don't recycle, but I just saw a whole video about recycling and how it's a crock of shit. And so now I question everything in the world. It's giving like, I litter. Like, I don't know. It's giving like, I don't care about anything outside of my own home. But that's not the way life works, right? Life in our world and in our lives, like especially when you're raising two daughters, actually in the world, you should, as you get older and as you do raise a family, that's actually when you should start caring more about what happens outside of your own home. And it's not about being like a nosy Nelly. It's actually about, in my opinion, it's about like when world issues and life issues should become a little bit more important to you. That's how I feel, right? Like I feel, in my opinion, for me, politics, world issues, things like this, like they become more serious when I became older. When I was younger, I don't think I would have cared as much. So that's how I feel. Andrew says, I think it's definitely legal reasons James has pending charges. So that's what I think too. And that's why I was asking if anyone is in the legal world. So what I think is important is how can she say it and not say it at all? What I think she should have done is either not pick those questions at all and just completely ignored it completely, or said, I'm sending all my love to Allie. And if anyone is out there who has ever struggled with domestic violence, I completely, want to say I am 100% wholeheartedly against domestic violence. And domestic violence is something that I will always deem wrong. You don't have to say James. You don't have to mention the word James. You don't have to even connect the two. And that to me is because he just got arrested for domestic violence. You can't separate that. You can't erase that fact. So why, as podcasters that were not there, or as content creators that were not there, why can we say that? But Lala, who was not there, who was not part of the experience, who was not part of the event, why can't she say that? Does that show that she believes it's true? She's respecting someone's wishes, probably, right? All she should have said, and that's what Nicole said just now, said, can't they say they can't legally speak on it? That's actually a really good point. That's what she should have said. You know, as much as I really want to talk about it, and as much as I never condone any sort of violence at all in any way, I can't speak on anything. It's a legal matter, just like Karen did all season. Just like Karen did. It's a legal matter. It's so unfortunate because this is all like so dark and so sad for both Allie and James, but it's a legal matter and we can't touch it. I think it's the complete like la 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 of it all that feels so I hate to use the word of the year. It feels like gaslighting. Oh, I'm just, as you get older, you just don't think about other people anymore, Yeah. As I get older, I just stop caring about other people's lives. What? What? Wait, Lala, what? As you get older, you guys, let's remind Lala this when she's on the Valley next season and she'll like get in a fight for someone else. Let's remind this to Lala when she's on her podcast, like fighting about someone else's life. Because she's going to like go to town in a future episode of something where she's going to fight for someone else because that's in her cards. That's her personality. So that's the difference is like, I think all you should say is just be honest. I can't speak about it. I cannot legally speak on this. I am too close to the two people involved that I can't speak on it. And Scheana, I didn't listen. I won't listen to her podcast. But Scheana, I guess, had a podcast that she released this morning. I got a DM about it this morning. Let me see if I can find the DM really quickly from one of my listeners who said something along the lines of how annoyed they were listening to the whole episode and how it was completely like, okay, yeah. Donna, I just listened to Sheena's latest podcast, and guess what? No mention of James and Allie and the abuse. MJ was on the episode, brought up seeing James and Allie at Kathy's Direct TV party. Scheana made some noises, but that was it. I'm wondering if their lawyers had advised them not to say anything, but even so, the silence is deafening and has really soured me towards the cast of VPR. This is what this person is saying in my DMs. If it was taped on Monday or Tuesday, I believe. Probably not. If it's Sheena's podcast, it was probably taped a little bit later, but maybe not. It was taped this week, obviously. So it's not like it was taped a few weeks ago. She brings up Sandoval featuring her from his show. So it was definitely this week. I'm so disappointed in these people. I don't even want her and Lala on the Valley anymore. And then she even says Kiki was also co-hosting. That's Talk of Shame was also co-hosting with Scheana and MJ. And obviously Scheana must have said, we're not touching that subject. Scheana did at least stick up for Kristen regarding Lisa Vanderpump's gross remarks about Kristen's pregnancy, which we're going to get into next. So that's the whole thing. It's like, it's this weird kind of like, see no evil, la, 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 which is just, I think it's upsetting. Now, let's move a little bit to the left of this before we get into LVP about it. Ariana and Katie. So Ariana and Katie are no longer employed by Bravo, as far as we know. They're not doing the Valley. VPR is canceled. I mean, I think eventually maybe they do want to be featured as, something about her. They want to be on the next Vanderpump Rules, so they don't want to, break ties with Bravo. But I don't believe talking about just saying a nice comment towards Allie or whatever would be a line in the sand. Why are Ariana and Katie completely silent over it too? Like, can we just flush that out for a second? What would be the reason by that? Christina says Ariana is employed by Universal. Is that for Love Island? I mean, are we really seriously thinking that it goes that high up that you can't even say a loving remark or just like something kind in a public manner when everyone is looking at you as like this icon about, I mean, I just think people are, I just think silence speaks volumes for victims out there. Because so many people are victims of these kinds of things. So many women, specifically women, are victims of these kinds of things. And they've looked up at women like Ariana for so many years, especially this last year. And to know, and they looked up at women like Lala and Scheana and Katie. And here they are feeling like completely neglected. Even Kristen Doute probably feels a little bit like, ooh. It's just weird. I just feel like it's all Susan thinks they have NDAs. They have NDAs, but they talk about it. All they do is talk about each other. Now, if they have NDAs, it's probably about that Bravo investigation, which is really what it is. So Renee says gag order, contracts, NDA, maybe they were involved in past Bravo investigation and need to keep it zipped. Well, this is actually really interesting because that Bravo investigation, which we talked about yesterday, that happened a year ago to the day basically of BravoCon, or right before BravoCon, right before James won for colloquial experience, whatever the hell village word that is. Like, oh, colloquial. Hello. They maybe signed an NDA around that investigation. But is there a world that you don't have to even mention the investigation, that you don't even have to mention James, that all you could do is just send a loving message of support for victims out there, just to show that, like, I got you? Because that's all it takes. One little story, one little repost. I don't know. I have friends that are victims of DV and they're paying attention to this and they're hurting. Because I know, because I'm in their DMs, right? Or they're in my DMs. And they're like, the silence is killing me as a fan of the show. Killing me. That's all I'm saying. Kelly Harper says James's lawyer probably told them to shut up. What do they owe James? Is what I'm saying. Why are we pussyfooting around the aggressor? Like, why? This is what I'm saying. Why are we still protecting James when everyone and their mother took Sandoval, shoved him in a grave, and peed on him, theoretically, for cheating? Why are we still protecting a man like James after yesterday's episode that I showed you 575,600 minutes of him attacking women verbally? I just don't get it. Okay. Andrew says Allie, being the victim, may have asked for no one to speak on it on their public forums. That would make sense. And maybe they are respecting Allie. Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. Which feels just so backwards. Because I guess what do you do there? So you protect the victim, which is in a weird way you are protecting the victim by not throwing James under the bus, because you know that if you throw, this actually does make sense. And actually now, let's see, I love that I can have this open dialogue with you guys, because you guys literally sometimes, like, you actually do open my eyes to so many things that I don't think about. Okay, so I'm putting myself in Allie's position. Imagine you're Allie, and your biggest fear right now is that James loses everything. Your boyfriend, the love of your life, and you're worried that he's going to lose everything, right? And the way that he loses everything in your eyes is that every single person that is public in his life throws, like, dogs him and, like, jumps on him, right? Starts publicly shaming him. So you beg and plead and pray and, like, you cry and scream to Lala, Scheana, and all of these girls, please, please, if I can just beg of you, anything, please do not say anything bad about James. This is all I ask of you. That's all I need. And so the girls say, we love you, Allie, so we will do that for you. Because if we take James down, he's going to take it out on you. He's going to blame you. And so we will protect you, Allie, so that you don't get the wrath of James. That actually does make sense to me. So so they're doing, in a weird roundabout way, they're protecting Allie by not tearing down James. And so they're putting their own kind of reputation with the public right now behind Allie. which actually would make me completely do a 180 and make me respect them more. Well, just someone tell me what they're doing so that I know and that I don't have to hate them anymore. I guess we're going to figure this out sooner rather than later. I just really don't want Allie to go back to him. Right? I'm sure he blames her for the police being called in the first place. Like that poor neighbor. That neighbor needs like witness protection program. I mean, seriously, what do you think that neighbor is going through? I would be nervous if I were that neighbor. Okay, let's move on with LVP. So LVP did make a yucky comment. What's up with LVP, you guys? She is not looking good right now. Not only has she had a very, very bad past, obviously protecting James in the past, right? We have years and years of her protecting James and shoving this under the rug, obviously. And like as a producer, a very, very obviously involved producer of Vanderpump Rules. She has shoved this under the rug. She was a big part of this Bravo investigation, pretending like nothing was wrong. She visibly saw him do a million things. I've heard from multiple people behind the scenes who were part of this, who have told me in DMs how many times Lisa Vanderpump has gotten involved to erase scenes of James. This is all literally, I have DMs, so I can say it's alleged, but I have proof of Lisa Vanderpump getting scenes erased of James acting inappropriate, yelling, screaming, being physical, etc., to make James look the way he does. I have no idea what in the world James has on Lisa that makes her want to always prop him up. She feels this kind of motherly version for him. It's weird. But for whatever reason, Lisa always has wanted to prop James and protect him. So already that's weird. And Nick Viall, we shared that yesterday that he finds it embarrassing that she hasn't even said anything. So already she's kind of in like the doghouse with all of us because she's a producer, right? So it's weird she hasn't said anything. But then on top of everything else, she goes and does this. She's a producer on The Valley too, which I found so weird. Didn't you guys find that weird? Like she shouldn't be a producer on that in my opinion. But she's like a very high up producer and a not involved producer. She's just a financial producer, meaning she just makes money. And I guess it's because she somehow was involved with the creation of Jax Taylor and Kristen Doute. So Alex Baskin and her she probably worked something out where she was able to make a little bit of that money. But in this conversation that she had with my girls, Lauren and Emily from Housewives Nightcap, and I love them. And this conversation happened over a week ago, so I don't know why this just got picked up. But in this conversation, she was talking about Kristen being pregnant, and she was like shocked by it. She didn't even know she was pregnant, which is giving a little bit like, who recently? I can't remember recently what I was watching and someone was like, "Huh? I didn't even know that." I'm trying to remember what I was watching and we talked about it on the show where someone was like, "Huh? What?" I have to remember. Anyway, she had no idea that she was pregnant. And then she said, "Who was the father?" She's a producer on the show. She goes, "I hadn't heard that. How on earth did that happen? Who's the father? Do we know?" So Lauren and Emily, the co-hosts, said that Kristen is actually engaged to Luke. Lisa Vanderpump expressed surprise. She said, "Oh, she's getting married? I'm really not very involved with the Valley, even though I'm a producer." Scheana then today slammed the comment on her podcast. Oh, I guess that's how it got picked up because she talked about it, labeling her former boss the Jaxhole of the week. She said, "With all due respect, it was kind of shady, super shady. That's also unprofessional because she's a producer of The Valley." So how can she slam Lisa Vanderpump for that, but then not talk about James? Like, that's the weird shit that I'm talking about. This is all so weird. Anyway, I find it strange. She said, "Knowing the struggles that Kristen has shared about her path to becoming a mother, even if you don't like someone, it's distasteful. How hard is it to wish her the best?" She attempted to explain the duo's past beef, noting that Kristen has always stood up to Vanderpump and has never just bowed down and been like, okay, Lisa's the boss. Well, Doute is going to tell her how she feels that she acts more respectful towards Scheana clarified. I still can't get over that Scheana's last name is Shay. Can you imagine marrying someone so briefly who has like a huge drug problem? You divorce them, you end up getting married to someone else, having a child with someone else, and then still holding on to that first husband's name? Why is her name Scheana Shay? That's so weird. While Doute is going to tell her how she feels, Scheana Shay clarified that she acts more respectful towards Lisa Vanderpump. Scheana Shay says, jump, how high? Reps for Kristen Doute and Vanderpump have yet to respond to page 6's request for comment. So I told you guys my theory the other day that someone told me that Kristen Doute was offered the Valley for staying quiet about James, which was about a year ago. Just saying, right around this time, it does actually track. When was the Valley announced? Wait, you guys, when was the Valley announced? When was the Valley season 1 announced? The Valley was first announced by Bravo on January 17th, 2024. Think about it. Why would Kristen Doute get asked back to Bravo and a show that was produced by Lisa Vanderpump after she was fired by Bravo for these quote unquote racist remarks or racist actions and in a horrible relationship with one of the producers, Lisa Vanderpump? Why? Right after this Bravo investigation, where she was probably speaking to Bravo and the whistleblower and being in relations with the whistleblower about the Bravo investigation about James. It's very possible. Okay. Kelly says, didn't they ask Stassi to come back and she said no? If Kristen was the only one asked back, I would believe that. But since they all were asked back, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if that's the only reason she was asked back, but why was she asked back? Like I don't know if they would have asked someone that was so problematic to the producer back. Like she and Lisa Vanderpump really didn't get along. So I don't know. But Kristen Doute is the star of the Valley. And I do believe, I mean, Jax Taylor really did bring a lot of the drama, but I don't know if Kristen Doute wasn't on the Valley, how many people would really tune in. Because the Valley, for the most part, that first season was a lot of no-namers, right? Like Michelle and Jesse. What? We were tuning in for Michelle and Jesse? No way. We were tuning in for Nia. I mean, I think she's adorable, but we weren't tuning in for Nia and Danny. You know, we were tuning in for Kristen and Jax. So that's why we watch. We didn't tune in for Lego Zach. Anyway. Gosh, so many stories. Okay, guys, last time I got to do this before we get into Southern Charm. And then we got to wrap it up. Oh, I'm sad. I'm going to miss you guys next week. Daily Dose of Donna listeners, don't forget. It's your last chance. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by LOLAVIE. As you can see, I didn't blow dry my hair today. LOLAVIE, the award-winning hair care line founded by Jennifer Aniston. Holiday season is in full swing, so it is time to embrace the joy of giving. And let's be real, what's better than giving or getting the gift of gorgeous, healthy hair? If you could notice, my hair is gorgeous and healthy. It's just back, but it is gorgeous and healthy. So I'm just going to get through this really fast because we've got to move on to the show. You know that unstoppable feeling when you're having a great hair day? That's exactly the magic Jen wanted to bottle up with LOLAVIE. LOLAVIE's Glossing Detangler is my go-to. I actually did use it even though my hair is up because my hair gets really tangled. So it leaves my hair soft, smooth, and so much easier to style. It's hair magic in a bottle. So use my code DANA15, DANA15 for your order at LOLAVIE.com. That's LOLAVIE.com. LOLAVIE.com with promo code DANA15. That's DANA15. LOLAVIE, LVP.com with promo code Donna15. And don't forget to let them know you heard about them on Daily Dose of Donna when they ask. Trust me, your hair will thank you. And so will I. And so will Todd. I need to use some of the frizz stuff on Todd. Todd's looking hungover. Listen, he's mad. He's mad because his wife exposed his texting affair. Maybe he was sexting with Craig. You guys, I love you. Okay, let's move on really fast. Oh, by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram at This Is Donna Bowling, that's This Is Donna, DANA Bowling, then you're missing out because you follow me. You're going to come to Vegas with me. You're going to see me win big at Wheel of Fortune. That's where you're going to get some buzz stories. That's where I really let loose. Okay? Josh is disassociating. He says, I can't go a whole week without Daily Dose. Thank God for Patreon. Don't you worry. You're going to get so much of me. All right, we have to talk about Southern Charm because you guys, something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm concerned. This may be the season that turns me. No, I'm not becoming a lesbian, but I may not like Craig after the season. Are you ready? Are you ready? Ba-ba-doo. Craig is quickly going down the ranks. I don't want to date a liar. I don't like liars. Is Craig, we've seen him not only lie on camera, but we've seen him lie about lying on camera and lie about lying on camera. We have Houston, we got a problem here. Craig may be a pathological liar and the worst kind of it because he's not even aware of it. He's not even aware. That's a problem. We have a problem. So I'm just going to say really fast. So the episode kind of starts off. Listen, Southern Charm is starting off a little slow. I have to be honest. It's not really killing it the way I want it to. I feel bad about it. But there was a lot of time spent on dogs. And I'm a dog lover. I've got my dog here. I got my dog there. Where are my dogs at? Okay, we're dog lovers here in the Doser community. I don't want to watch a dog party. I don't want to go to a dog birthday party. If you invite me to a dog birthday party, I will politely send a gift. I will not go. I don't want to pretend that we're celebrating your dog's birthday. I don't understand why I'm sorry. I know this is going to offend a lot of you guys that are dog people. I appreciate those that have dogs and want to celebrate their birthdays. Don't pretend that this is an excuse for you to have a party and you to get drunk. But do we have to bring our dogs? Because we're at a bar and your dog doesn't want to be at the bar. Can we just go to a park? Can I leave my dog in my backyard and then come to the party? Is it a dog park? Christina says, I've been to that dog park. Was that a dog park? It looked like a bar. It was a little bit odd to me, okay? I don't want to do it. When the second Rodrigo and his boyfriend were in the dog shop trying on doggy outfits, I'm like, oh, no, not another dog party. No. So there was that, okay? It was a lot of scenes getting ready for the dog party. We saw Molly and we got introduced to Sally. Sally's a little bore snore for now. I can't really tell exactly what she's doing there, but she's there just to start some shit because she used to date Shep, but that's not the weird part. She was dating Gaston. Gaston is Taylor's new boyfriend, but Gaston, according to Shep, he's the stock that no one says to buy. He's the stock that everyone says to sell. And I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm guessing that means he's not a good thing. Okay? He's the one that everyone says, get rid of. I think Gaston is a player. What are your guys' feelings about that? Finally, we have I'm trying to think other big scenes that happen at the beginning. Oh, JT. JT decides, poor JT. Guys, Craig is going down and JT's going up. JT is like, I'm going to write a handwritten note for Patricia. And he starts by writing really bad handwriting. And then he goes, oh, I can't do that. And then he continues to write in cursive that looks like he's Shakespeare. And this was very confusing to me because he was like, I have the worst writing. And then he's like, dear Patricia. And he pulls out his handwriting and he's calligraphing through the. I was confused. I said, what do you mean you have bad handwriting? I would like him to, I would like to, what's it called? Commission him to write me a piece. Dear Patricia, I would like to write you. And all of a sudden, we're in the Victorian era. He writes a nice letter to Patricia. It gets dropped off at Patricia and Whitney's house while they're drinking at 2 p.m. Both of them are drinking martinis and bourbon. I mean, it's weird. To apologize. No one's giving JT a chance in this episode, in this season. And now I'm kind of understanding why he quits. Because something is really actually unfair with JT's version of events versus everyone else's version for JT in this moment. Because right now he is trying to help his own life out, but no one is hearing him out. So he's doing everything right. He fucked up. He gave Patricia the cane. I still don't really understand how bad it was and why it was so bad, but whatever. Patricia didn't understand that everyone was getting a cane, so she was a little offended. Then he went to indoor golf last episode, just talked with his buddies, and everything he said was twisted, squeezed, changed, given the orange by Alexis Bellino, turned into a clementine, turned into a mimosa, and then given to everyone as a different story by Craig Conover, the town liar. Craig Conover ruined JT's life on this show. Sorry, but he did. It's all Craig's fault. And this is why I'm not really feeling Craig. Speaking of Craig, then we finally see the scene where Craig is obsessively in love with Paige, doing everything around the house. And Paige is treating him like my 12-year-old treats me when I walk in his room and he's texting with his friends. And by that, I mean I'm not there. Okay. When I walk into Dylan's room and he's texting with his friends, I could literally have a party in front of me. I could have every little thing. I could have balloons. I could have cake. I could have food. I could have anything. And Dylan doesn't look up. And that's what Paige treats Craig like this. No. Until Madison walks in. Because Paige is such a girl's girl, I wonder if she's really into girls sometimes. I'm not joking. I'm not trying to call Paige out, but Paige actually concerns me sometimes. She's actually not a very nice person to Craig. But when the girls are around, she's such a girly girl. She's always so girly girl that sometimes I wonder, does she really like the girls? Does anyone ever question that about Paige? No, seriously, I'm not joking. I'm like, maybe Paige actually wants to take a dip in the girly pond sometimes. I'm not joking. I don't get a gay vibe from her at all, but I think she's actually one of those people that would 100% want to only be with girls if she could choose. She says it on the show, on her podcast. I listen to their show. I love it. I truly believe, she does like the D. Leslie says no, Paige likes the D. That's true. She actually does really like the D and she likes sex. So I think she would choose men for sex and then girls for the entire rest of her world. That's what I do agree. So that's when they kind of talk more about JT. And it's getting kind of they talk also about Madison and her husband and the cancer. But the whole JT story is festering and it's creating more drama. And meanwhile, we go over to Austin and Shep, who are talking about their girlfriends and talking about growing up and getting more vulnerable. And oh my God, Dana Maria, I'm assuming your name is Dana Maria and not Donna Maria, says, so what, Paige is a gay man? Into men for the D, but really want to hang out with the women. That's funny. Okay, that is hysterical. Paige is a gay man. Okay, so she Oh, so meanwhile, Austin and Shep, I kind of felt for them because we've all had those friends who you lose them when they get in relationships. Their personality changes. They completely stop hanging out with you. They stop doing what they used to do. And yes, we know this. Craig has pulled back from drinking. He's completely changed who he is. But also it feels like he's kind of like he's stopped being around them. He's not really like their friend as much anymore. And I'm curious from you guys if you think, is it possible that maybe he's just not like connecting with them because of their lifestyles? Or do you think Paige has essentially told him, I don't want you friends with them anymore? Do we think it's Paige or do you think it's Craig that he's pulled back from them? I thought it was interesting how they said he used to be like this high on Adderall, crazy kid, and now his whole thing is Martha Stewart, and it's almost like a game. I don't believe that that's the truth. I think he's actually really good at what he does. But most of you guys think Paige has told him, like, you're not allowed to hang out with him anymore. Hang out with them. Like, they're bad for your image. They're bad for you. And like, look, whatever she's told him to do, it's worked for his business career. What's interesting to me is why he decided to go into business with Austin for, by the way, their new restaurant. Like, that's a strange choice. Why are you going into business with someone who's clearly so quote unquote bad for your career? Or did it work for your career to go into business with someone who's like a reality star who's going to bring more people to the show? So I don't know. But Shep and Austin have grown up. You can tell with these new girlfriends, like they have grown up. But meanwhile, they go to the party, and this is where it gets a little bit like random because now it's all these ex-girlfriends and girlfriends, and Shep brings his new beautiful, beautiful Bahamas, like what is she, Miss Bahamas? She's gorgeous. And Madison is right. She's like, she's way too pretty for Shep. No offense, Shep, but really she is way too pretty for you. And she has to meet Taylor, and it's kind of awkward. And then Sally, this new girl, has to meet Taylor, which is also really awkward. So Taylor's again in the middle of all these old and new girlfriends. And again, there's all these dogs around, and everyone's meeting each other, and everyone's drinking. And that part was just kind of like, it was just some random conversations. Nothing really was happening though. It felt like they were trying to create drama between it, but I don't feel like any real drama was happening. It was more editing of like, look how weird it is that these people are talking about these people. And then of course Leva was there, but Leva does nothing and adds nothing to any scene she's in. Not a fan. Finally, what was I going to say? Okay, the last scene, and then we'll be done. But the last scene was, aw, look at that. Wanda just hit member for 6 months. I love that. Okay, finally, we have a moment with Madison and JT, which actually broke my heart. Broke my heart. Madison decides, I'm going to finally like take JT down. I'm going to let him know what's up. And I love Madison. I really do. But she goes and meets JT for coffee. And this guy on his cane, who's already like not feeling great, obviously, sits down with her. And they used to be very close, apparently. But the whole story is that JT told Craig and Shep, that he got a FaceTime from Madison and her husband after they went on their trip last year, saying what apparently, according to JT, the call said, what happened that night? What were you guys doing late at night? He said it was a weird phone call. He got a weird phone call from the husband. And he was thinking maybe he thought that they hooked up or something. That's all. No, I don't even think he said that they hooked up. Craig said, do you think that he thought you hooked up? And JT's like, I don't know. I thought it was weird. Meanwhile, Craig plays the game of telephone and went to Madison and said, I think JT told me or told us that he thinks your husband thought you guys had an affair. So Craig completely twisted that story, which then made Madison come to JT with such vitriol and such anger, being like, why in the world would you ever think that I would have an affair with you? Have you seen yourself in a mirror? Ouch, ouch, ouch. So mean. So JT's like, I didn't say that. I never said that. I just thought it was weird that you guys FaceTimed me from your vacation asking me those questions. But then we end up finding out, and she never told JT this in that conversation, but we find out in an interview later that the reason that Madison and her husband actually made that phone call to JT was because he was freaking out, probably. Because she said that she has to call him every single night when she gets home into her bed when she's on vacation, which is a very normal request when you are married and you're on a vacation, especially with an ex. And she did not call him that night. And so he kind of got worried because he didn't get a call from her. So when he was with her, he said, what happened that night? Because he did see that she was in the pajamas or whatever. And so he was clearly freaking out a little bit that she was cheating, that she was doing something nefarious that night. So JT's concern or like red flag about that FaceTime was 100% appropriate. And Madison was freaking out that JT brought that to light. And instead of being like, that's embarrassing that you just kind of put my relationship with my husband on blast, instead of taking that anger and putting that or like that embarrassment where it should have been, she turned it around and embarrassed JT over it. But that is actually really unfair. Austin was the issue. He was worried about Austin. He wasn't worried about JT. And JT like got really, really taken down. And then right then, exactly in that moment, JT says, at some point, Madison said something along the lines of, yeah, like when you called Patricia a bitch. And JT goes, what? And once again, Craig created an entire story, a bad story. You guys, a really bad story. Because to say that you've called a woman a bitch is not a small thing. That's a very, very mean thing to say. And then to say that you've called an 80-year-old woman a bitch is over the line. So Craig created that story, told Patricia, told everyone on Watch What Happens Live. They replayed the tape. It was never there. Shep knew that it never happened. Shep has confirmed it. Andy Cohen has confirmed it. Production has confirmed it. Craig still to this moment on Watch What Happens Live last week is a believer that they're hiding the tape. Cuckoo. That's a red flag. And JT says in his interview, actually a very like believable story that he goes, I know I didn't call her a bitch because I remember being a kid and saying that when I went to 7-Eleven with my mom one time, I was testing her and I wanted a Slurpee and she said no. And I said, you be, he said the word to his mom and he goes, whew, I will never call a woman a B again. And so I believe him. I believe he never said it. I mean, why wouldn't they show it, you guys? He's off the show. So Craig has created hell for JT. And honestly, Craig owes JT a massive apology here. And I hope Madison recognizes how awful she was to him in that scene. And she should have texted him after seeing that scene last night. And I hope she did. So I felt really bad for him last night. I really did. Not Kelly Dodd texting me back within 3 minutes left in this episode about Shannon last night. Anyway, so it was It was a really, really look, it's not the best season so far, in my opinion. I have to be honest. It's not amazing, but it's just ramping up. I feel really bad for JT. I didn't like what I saw. If this guy was like losing his mind and being mean and being an asshole, and that's why he quit, which is what I thought, then by all means. But now I'm seeing it in a different light. And if he was like truthfully being lied about and bullied off the show, I'm not in. I'm not like going to stand for it. So I really, really don't like that side of Craig. And honestly, if Paige sees that side of Craig, I wouldn't marry him either. I'm not joking. If you're seeing a big liar in front of you, that's concerning. That's concerning. Okay. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend and an incredible Christmas and Hanukkah and Christmas starts. Well, I think Hanukkah is on Christmas Eve. I think Hanukkah is Christmas Eve, the first night of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, literally happy holidays to everyone that like doesn't celebrate either of those. I am so grateful for my dosers, for everyone that listens to this show. I mean, seriously, what a year. What an incredible year. You are my present every single day. It's been such a fun ride. It's been up, it's been down, it's been high, it's been low. It has been such a joy for me to come here, even though it's been tough some days. But honestly, I really, really do appreciate you guys. And so thank you for being here, subscribing and commenting and liking and just like, sharing the show with others and accepting that I'm not perfect and none of us are, right? None of us are. So that's the best thing we can do is just keep on being ourselves and being authentic. Hanukkah starts on the 26th. So the first night of Hanukkah is the 25th then? So is Hanukkah, it starts on I should probably know as a Jew. Hold on. Hey Siri. When is the first night of Hanukkah? Why can't you say it out loud, Siri? Hanukkah 2024 begins on Wednesday, December 25th. So Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah on the same day. Okay, so I will be at the Wheel of Fortune slots. Find me, follow me on Instagram, join Patreon because you're going to get a Vegas episode from me. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. No, I won't talk to you tomorrow. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.